Go to your window right now, the one that faces your porch light. Stand there for a moment and wait. Sooner or later, it will arrive. A long-legged silhouette tapping against the glass, 6 impossibly thin legs trailing behind it like loose threads. A body that looks far too large to be what your brain is about to label it. Don't reach for the swatter. Don't reach for the spray. Just look. You know this creature. You have known it your entire life. It is the thing that appears in late summer, drifting into your kitchen the moment you open the back door. It is the shape that bumps against your lampshade at midnight, casting a shadow far larger than its body. It is the unwelcome visitor in your shower, in your stairwell, in the corner of your bedroom ceiling, hanging motionless as if waiting to be noticed. You have felt its legs brush your arm. You have heard the soft, papery crash of its body hitting a wall. You have probably killed one. Most of us have, and every single time your brain whispered the same word, mosquitoes, stop. What you are looking at is not a mosquito. It is not a giant mosquito. It is not a mutant mosquito. It is not a mosquito that grew up, drank too much, or escaped a laboratory. It is not in any sense related to the insect you are afraid of. It does not want your blood. It cannot take your blood. In most species, it does not even have the equipment to bite anything at all. The long body you are about to crush belongs to a creature called the crane fly, and almost everything passed down to you about it, by parents, by neighbors, by the quiet folklore of summer evenings, is wrong. What I am about to tell you is the kind of fact you will think about the next time one drifts into your house. You will pause. You will lower your hand, and you will probably tell someone, because the crane fly is not a pest. It is a 250-million-year-old creature carrying out a final frantic mission that ends in days. It is older than flowering plants, older than the dinosaurs that walked beneath them, and the role it plays in your backyard, beneath the soil you mow over every weekend, is one of the most quietly essential jobs in the entire ecosystem. Once you understand what it actually is, you cannot unsee it. Begin with the body itself. The crane fly belongs to the family Tipulidae, one of the oldest lineages of true flies on Earth. Paleontologists have found crane fly fossils preserved in amber dating back to the Triassic period, roughly 245 million years ago. That means a recognizable crane fly was already drifting through prehistoric forests before the first bird ever flew, before grass existed, before the Atlantic Ocean had finished opening. The insect tapping your window tonight is a living echo of a world we will never see. Now look closer. Where a mosquito carries a needle, the crane fly carries nothing. In adulthood, most of the 15,000 known species have mouth parts so reduced they cannot pierce, cannot chew, and in many cases cannot eat solid food at all. A few sip nectar or water. Most do not bother. Their digestive systems have been quietly hollowed out by evolution, traded away for something the insect considers more important. That something is time. A typical adult crane fly lives for 10 to 15 days. Some species survive only 48 hours. The entire visible chapter of its life, the bumping, the drifting, the awkward flight that makes you reach for a shoe, is a countdown. Every adult you have ever seen was already running out of fuel, already dying, already trying to finish one final task before its body simply stops. And here is where the misconception deepens. The chaos you mistake for aggression is not aggression. Crane flies have terrible eyesight and rely on a sensory system called chemoreception, the detection of pheromone molecules drifting through the air at concentrations of a few parts per trillion. The males you see ricocheting around your porch light are not attacking anything. They are tracing invisible chemical trails left behind by females, often kilometers away, in a final, exhausted search for a mate. You are watching the last hours of a love letter written in molecules. But the truly remarkable part of the crane fly is not the adult you see. It is the larva you don't. Beneath your lawn, in damp soil and leaf litter and the muddy edges of streams, crane fly larvae, sometimes called leather jackets for their tough, gray skin, spend 9 to 12 months living slow underground lives. During that time, a single larva can process several times its own body weight in decaying plant matter. Entomologists studying European meadows have estimated that cranefly larvae are responsible for breaking down a measurable percentage of all fallen leaf litter in temperate ecosystems. They are, in the most literal sense, the cleanup crew of your backyard, and they do more than decompose. As they tunnel through the soil, they create microscopic channels that allow rainwater to penetrate deeper and oxygen to reach plant roots. Soil scientists call this bioturbation, a process so important that without it, topsoil would become compacted, anaerobic, and biologically dead within a few seasons. The grass you walk on every morning is, in part, kept alive by the children of the insect you keep killing. There is one more layer. Because cranefly larvae are so abundant, so rich in protein, and so accessible just beneath the surface, they form a foundational food source for an astonishing number of species. Field studies in Britain have documented that cranefly larvae make up a significant portion of the springtime diet of starlings, lapwings, and golden plovers. In North America, robins, grackles, skunks, and moles depend on them. When cranefly populations crash, and they have been crashing across parts of Europe due to changes in soil moisture, entire bird populations decline with them. The clumsy insect in your kitchen is, somehow, holding up the sky. I remember the first time I read this. It was a quiet evening, and one of them had drifted into the room while I was working, bumping against the lampshade, doing that strange, drifting half-flight they all do. I had killed dozens of them over the years. I had grown up calling them mosquito hawks, then giant mosquitoes, then nothing at all because they were not worth naming. I sat with the page for a long time. 245 million years, 10 days of life, a mouth that cannot eat, a purpose so narrow it can be measured in hours. I turned off the lamp, opened the window, and watched the cranefly drift out into the dark. I have not killed one since. Tomorrow, when one finds its way into your home, and one will, try something. Turn off the indoor light, leave the porch light on, open a window. Within a minute or two, the cranefly will follow the glow back into the night, back into the final hours of its strange, ancient, mouthless mission. Then tell me in the comments. I read every single one. What did your family call them growing up? Mosquito hawks, daddy longlegs flies, skeeter eaters? Each region has its own folklore, and I want to map them. The strangest local name gets pinned to the top, because here is what I want you to understand. The cranefly is not the only creature in your yard hiding a 200-million-year-old story behind a body you were taught to fear. There is another one, smaller, quieter, doing work beneath a stone you walk past every single day. It has no name in most households. It has no defender. And what it does for the soil beneath your feet is in some ways even more astonishing than what the cranefly does above it. And the next creature doing invisible work in your yard is already waiting for you.